Ciao guys and welcome back, it's your friend Luca, and in today's video I feel like it's a good day to talk about the Meyer Optik Gorlitz Biotar 75mm F1.5, a fantastic and modern reproduction of the old Zeiss 75mm F1.5 that is kind of difficult to find in the used market. Now let's first talk about who should consider this lens and why you should buy it, because I don't really want to waste your time in case you are not this type of shooter. I think that this lens is shining the most, and it's very unique for what it does as a portrait lens. It creates very magical shots if used between f1.5 and f2, and sort of gets in the normal range of swirly lenses around f2.8 and around f5.6. This lens is incredible sharp corner to corner and is able to perform amazingly well with a great sense of depth and 3D pop in the scene you are photographing or filming. I really love this lens, it's super versatile, but keep in mind that this is also a fully manual focus lens, so you're going to be limited with manual focus and manual aperture controls. And within the manual focus portrait lenses, I consider this 75mm kind of difficult to use. It took me quite some time to get used and start to have pictures in focus between f2 and f2.8, because the focus range is similar to the Zeiss 85mm f1.4 that is also very precise lens like this for portrait photography in a studio, but if you need to capture some dynamic shots, this lens can be a little bit difficult to use. And I'm actually curious to know why I'm having difficulties to focus with this lens compared to the Primoplan 75mm F1.9, because they should be sort of the same. Let me grab that lens and see the focus scale. So yeah, the scale is a little bit different between the Primoplan 75 and the Biotar 75. I think that the Biotar has around 60 degrees of focus throw between infinity and 2 meters, while the Primoplan 75 has around 40-ish. So the Primoplan 75 is faster to focus, and that's why I didn't have difficulties with this lens, while I'm having quite some difficulties with the Biotar 75. Also, I want to mention that the focus ring on this lens is a bit on the heavy side compared to the Primoplan 75, but also compared to the Biotar 58. Consider also that this lens is much heavier and bigger than the 58mm. So on the Biotar 58 we have a 52mm filter thread, while on the 75 we have a 62mm filter thread. So we have much more glass in this lens compared to the 58, and that's probably why the focus ring is a little bit heavier on the 75. It's not a big problem, because after, what is this, like 3 months of usage of this lens, the focus became smoother and smoother, so now it's much faster to use. But yeah, the focus scale is very precise on this 75mm, so you might find it difficult if you are not experienced with manual focus lenses. In case you plan to use this lens to photograph or film people, for example portraits, events, weddings, or films, or even if you want to use this lens as a taking lens for anamorphic scopes, this lens is pretty fantastic and I highly recommend it. The moment I'm making this video, this lens is going for around 1400 euros, and considering that this lens is made in Germany, I don't think this lens is expensive, and if you want to have a confirmation about it, you can check the prices of Zeiss and Leica lenses made in Germany. Now let's talk about what I really love about this lens. First of all, I really love the build construction. It is solid, it's very nice to manual focus and to control the aperture ring that is having a lovely 15 aperture blades, so this lens is always having a nice and smooth bokeh or out of focus areas. So I really love the build construction of this lens. Doesn't have a CPU contact, it's not weather sealed. I've been using this lens for 3 months and I don't have any dust particle in this lens, but also on the other Meyer Optik lenses I own. So I wouldn't worry much about the problem of dust inside the glass elements, because first of all they have almost zero impact in your images, and secondly they are pretty easy to service, so I wouldn't worry much about if a lens is not weather sealed. The lens is having a 62mm filter thread for filters, so if you're used to have all the other Meyer Optik lenses you know that those lenses have a 52mm filter diameter, so for this 75mm you will have to buy different filters if you didn't buy larger filters at the first place. The second thing that I love about this lens is obviously the image quality. This lens is amazing. It's one of the most interesting portrait lens I have, and it's completely different than the Primoplan 75mm F1.9. It has its own character. It's very similar to the Biotar 58mm F1.5, but with more compression. So these two lenses are working extremely well together. If you plan to use this Biotar 75 with other Meyer Optik lenses, for example the Primoplan or the Lidit or the what is that? The Trioplan, I don't think they match that well, so I will stick just with the Trioplan and Primoplan set of lenses and the Biotar set of lenses. And I really hope that Meyer Optik is gonna create something a little bit wider than the 58, just to have a perfect set of lenses. So if they could make something around a 32mm f1.5, that would be amazing. I would love to see that. Maybe write down something in the comment area below about it, because I think they care about the feedback of potential buyers and customers. So yeah, overall both lenses are very similar, and they also have the same minimal focus distance. Almost. This is focusing at 0.75, talking about the 75mm f1.5, while the 58mm is focusing at 0.7 meter. They are pretty compact, so in case you plan to use these lenses for anamorphic setups, they're working pretty well. Another thing that I like about this lens is the coating, because here we can see a little bit of golden coating, but in reality, if you shine a strong source of light directly to the lens, you're gonna get purplish, reddish flares, and if you get some flares from the side, you're gonna get some amazing rainbow flares. This is a lens with low glass elements, and this gives advantages and disadvantages. For example, as a disadvantage, this lens suffers a little bit from longitudinal chromatic aberrations, so you're gonna see a little bit of green in the background and magenta on the foreground, but you're not gonna have lateral chromatic aberrations or purple fringing, even if used at f1.5. At f1.5, this lens is sharp just in the center, and there is still a little bit of ghosting going around in the center of the frame, so you're going to be a little bit limited in terms of composition in what you can do. So you can just frame your subject in the center and that's it. But if you stop down this lens to f2.8, you can start to play a little bit with the medium region of the frame, and by f5.6 this lens is extremely sharp corner to corner with an amazing rendering of the images. Obviously in photography nothing can be perfect, and there are a couple of things that I'm not a huge fan about in this lens. First of all, I'm talking about the consistency of this lens, because this lens feels pretty chunky, heavy, and it's, I don't know, man, like it's small, but like you can feel it, you know, it's heavy. Now, the flares characteristic is not only positive, there are also negatives about, because you cannot really get rid of lens flares and internal reflection with this lens, and it's kind of difficult to use it for street photography and wedding photography. So if you have control about the scene, you can move a little bit the talent around while you're using this lens, or you are creative with the flares you get from a lens like this, then you'll be fine. But if you're looking for a lens that performs good in terms of lens flares in any situation, this lens can be pretty tricky to use, and then you have to consider if this is going to be a good buy or not for you. At the moment I'm making this video review, Meyer Optik doesn't provide a lens hood with this lens, so I think you can buy it separately in the future when it's going to be available. That's going to help with the control of lens flares. But yeah, this lens is kind of difficult to use if you need clean images without glares or flares. One last aspect that is important to consider between the Primoplan 75 and the Biotar 75 is about the rendering of the images. The Biotar obviously has more of a Zeiss look, it's very recognizable, while the Primoplan has more of a Meyer Optik Gorlitz look or Cook look. So it is important to know this, because the lenses are very different. I get tons of questions about which lens you should get, and that depends from your taste. I personally love both. I would say that maybe the Primoplan are more unique. They have a very interesting look, while the Biotar have this nice balance between character but also very sharp through the whole frame at f5.6. So it's up to you, what do you prefer? I like both and I will keep both of them, but yeah, it depends from you, what do you prefer, and if you have the possibility to buy both of them. What about using this Biotar 75 as a tagging lens for anamorphic scopes? I tested this setup with the Iskorama 42, so it has a variable diopter that is optimized for 50mm lenses. So at f1.5 I got usable images, but that's going to be just in the center, and that's okay if you're going to shoot something with that look, but the best performances are gonna be around f2.8, where the center and medium regions are going to be very sharp and detailed. But like compared to the Primoplan 75mm F1.9, I think this is better as a tagging lens, because this lens gets super sharp corner to corner at f5.6, while the Primoplan 75mm f1.9 is always suffering from astigmatism in the borders. If you are interested in an image that looks sharp corner to corner and you are okay to stop down the lens to f5.6, the Biotar 75 is going to be your best pick. But in case you are okay to have a bit of unsharp corners and you are looking for a very unique look similar to Cook lenses, then you should go with the Primoplan 75mm f1.9. Ideally, I know you should have both, but yeah, money is also a thing. So maybe consider buying one or the other lens according to the type of images you like to get. Like all the other Meyer Optik lenses, this lens has a lot of aperture blades that is going to help a lot to always have a smooth and oval bokeh at any f-stop. So this lens is going to be pretty fantastic if you plan to use it as a tagging lens for anamorphic scopes. One important note to mention for the anamorphic community, especially for Jan Hudson, is about the hard stop with the infinity focus. I don't know if the problem is the adapter that I have, because they are passive and kind of cheap. This is a Viltrox, and I have another one that is a Comlight, and I don't have the possibility to adjust the infinity with the adapter. So with this lens I get the perfect infinity focus with an anamorphic scope around 30 meters instead of the hard stop at infinity. It might be a problem caused by the adapter, I don't know. I will actually ask the guys from Meyer Optik in case they tuned this infinity focus with some tolerance considering cold weather. I will let you know in the comment area. In conclusion, I absolutely love this lens. I can easily recommend it to every professional or experienced photographer or filmmaker. This lens is very, very beautiful and unique. But anyway, if I forgot to mention something about the lens and you're curious to know more about it, feel free to write down in the comment area below, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you for watching. Ciao!